about it. Dilithium is crystallizing. Hey, there we go. Hey, folks. Thanks for tuning into the BAM podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty. Hey, there's Jacob Blackman. Jacob, walking in like Kramer in a Steinfeld sketch. How you doing, sir?
I walk in like no Kramers.
And today we are talking to RPG designer Matt Frisbee. How you doing, Matt?
Oh, pretty good today. Getting a good taste of winter. We had some snow last night. It's just raining today now.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing here in North Denver. About 4 inches outside. So,
what part of the globe are you in, Matt?
I'm in Burlington, Iowa.
Right on.
And Aid's just joined us. Hey, Aid, how's life across the pond?
Yeah, not bad.
All right, cool.
Cold, rainy, usual.
And Walt has joined us from the BAMF podcast remote studio.
The remote studio.
Excellent. On the road. Love it.
Right on.
Cool. All right, well, hey, let's start things off looking at Batman Soul of the Demon. We don't have to watch the whole thing, but this is basically Denny Neal's 70s Batman made into animated form. So let me check share audio, and let's check it out.
Nice pad.
Richard.
You haven't changed at all, Bruce.
Might be surprised.
What was that back there? A mask.
It's a way to keep my lives separate. I can't think of the last time we saw each other.
I bet you can remember the last time. The first time, too.
I love that Mark Dacascos is the voice of Robin.
Say what?
I said I love that Mark Dacascos is the voice of Robin.
Who's Mark Dacascos?
He's a famous martial arts actor from France.
Yeah, we'll talk.
All right, cool. Lady Shiva.
They've also got Michael J. White.
Oh, awesome.
We have to stop it, no matter what.
I ain't ever gonna turn down whooping somebody's ass.
No matter how much you train, evil remains.
We're not done yet.
Again?
Our quarry is a bit more formidable than this.
Is this enough for the flavor, guys, or you want to watch the rest?
No, this is good.
So who are the characters? Who are the actual? We've got. I take it that's Bronze Tiger.
I'm not sure about a couple of these. You know, Lady Shiva is pretty obvious, but the premise is, what if Batman was a 1970s kung fu film? And I'm all here for it.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. It does look pretty.
Oh yeah, you ain't lying.
I am also here for Kung Fu Batman. Matt, what's your opinion?
I'm thinking it's going to be a pretty interesting thing. Some friends of mine are devotees of USA's former Kung Fu theater on Sunday mornings, so we've seen quite a bit of it. And yeah, I'm all for it. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, I have this deep, dark hope that one day DC will just turn over their entire Batman line to the guys who made Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, Bruce Timm is doing the animation for this movie, so doubly love.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool thing. Hey, speaking of cool things, how's that for a segue? Huh? That's why I turned into the BAMF podcast, that kind of quality professional transitions. Jacob, I hear you're doing action figure webcomics. Can you tell me more about this, and do you have a link to share?
I do.
Okay.
Yes. I am producing a series of action figure web comics. I've recently started posting these on Facebook, and I have started a Patreon to help fund my acquisition of more figures, because, boy, this is expensive. But so far, I've posted three comics, and all of them have been big hits. So it was recommended I start a Patreon for it, which I have. I have shared a link.
Okay, let me get that up.
I currently have all of the comics available on my Facebook page, and otherwise, once my Patreon reaches a funding level where I can afford a decent ISP that I can rent, a web page that I can rent. I will then be hosting that on a proper page for that people can go to, as opposed to just regular old social media. But yes, I have figures, I have toys, I have play sets, and I am just all about using them to entertain people because making them into comics is faster than me having to draw them. I can pose these very easily. The new series of Masters of the Universe figures are incredibly posable.
Sweet. Okay. So the first three are up on your Patreon too, right?
Yes, they are.
Okay, I am backing right now. Does this indicate a whole new direction in art for you? Or are we going to stop working with drawing and just go to fully illustrating with action figures?
No, not at all. I will still be continuing my normal illustrations and drawing. I still have plenty of commissions and work to keep me busy doing that for, I imagine, decades, hopefully, to come. So this is an entirely new endeavor for me, and I'm hoping it takes off. Because
Okay.
I don't know about anyone else, but do you remember those Twisted Toy Fair magazines that Wizards used to put out? I loved those. I absolutely loved those, and so I would love to do more of that.
Yeah, that was the only reason I ever bought Toy Fair, was just for the comics and back.
And oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, I still remember one to this day that had two Jawas with blaster rifles on a pile of stormtrooper figures, and it was just one line: "Don't start some, won't be none."
And that's a good segue into how popular these kind of things can be. A couple of years ago, there was a United States Marine that came off deployment, and he was a big Star Wars collector. And what he did was he took a DSLR camera and some creative use of fireworks and created some of the most iconic Clone Wars images like ever seen. And he did it all with action figures. They're absolutely spectacular. So yeah, I know a couple of guys who got they looked at some of these images and got like almost like PTSD triggered because they were that good. So, but yeah, and then to kind of lighten the mood, he did like a storming the Christmas shelf and taking Elf on the Shelf as hostage. So that was pretty good. But I mean, the original images were unbelievable, especially done with a DSLR camera. Like he would set off a firework in the terrain where the figures were posed with like a small puddle or whatever. Looked exactly like incoming artillery. It was freaky how good it was.
Favorite caption here: "Silent internal screaming." So, well, hey, speaking of silent internal screaming, there it is. Quality transitions. Aid, you just finished reading Three Jokers, right?
Oh, I did. Yes.
What can you tell us about that?
It was a Batman book. No. Yeah, it was okay. It was pretty good. First two issues I really did like. The third issue, it wasn't necessarily the book's fault. It's more to do with what's going on with DC at the moment. Not as kind of like, is this going to matter? Is this going to, because when they pitched this originally, this was when Rebirth came in, wasn't it? This was literally all the Three Jokers. Well, okay, and then it took all this time to get to here, and by the time it got to out, it's kind of made it mostly redundant. Because now we don't know if the big reveal about the Joker is actually going to be mentioned ever again, because the omniversal thing of every story can be ignored by every writer means that this just might be a 3-book series and then it's never mentioned again. And I think it would have been better if this would have been, some kind of, like a relaunch to Batman way back when Rebirth started, if they actually got it in the can then and out before the core book started. But yeah, it's great. I mean, to be honest, I bought it for the Faber artwork. I absolutely adore the artwork. The artwork is absolutely amazing. Very Bolland-like from the Killing Joke. But all in all, pretty cool.
Yeah, it's one of those weird Batman books where there are big revelations, but I'm not sure they actually change anything.
No, it's quite interesting. That the relationship between Babs and Red Hood is interesting, and they do something with that. But the actual Joker stuff, again, it kind of, if this had been the Rebirth book when it was originally pitched, maybe I wouldn't have had to sit through the Joker War that just came out, because I really couldn't give a crap about that. I just thought that was dragged out over and over and over again, and I think we might have seen something more interesting with the Joker going on, rather than the Joker's take control of Gotham City again, and no one gives a give a shit. They just let rampage over the town, and no one cares. Superman doesn't turn up, or the Suicide Squad isn't deployed. They just let it carry on, and it's whatever.
Well, I think Superman has to avoid Gotham so that Batman doesn't feel upstaged.
Yeah,
because there's really no problem Batman has Superman couldn't solve in about 90 seconds from orbit.
At least with No Man's Land, when they did it, when Gotham was separated, Lex was in charge, and Lex was actually actively punishing Gotham by to try and kind of manipulate Wayne Corps and all the kind of Lex Corps stuff going on, but it was buying up land because it was cheap and all this kind of stuff. So the idea that was something going on, but the idea they did this in year one, where they had all the Bat villains kind of like literally become the police officers and the commission. You're thinking, what? So no one in any other state or has just decided, yeah, Gotham's got a bit weird recently. Maybe we should go and check it out. So it's I would have loved this to have been the start for the current Batman series, but unfortunately, it was not.
Yeah, it would have been great if one time Buana Beast shows up at the airport and he's like, "I'm going to solve things." But yeah. Can I spoil this for anybody who hasn't read this, or are you guys going to?
Yeah, I didn't want to mention anything at all about the actual plot, so I just
Jacob, Matt, Walt, you guys mind if I spoil it?
Go ahead.
All right, go. All right, I probably wasn't going to pick this up, except Jacob wanted to talk about it, and I kind of hate the Joker character. I just think he's been used badly for years, and kind of sort of occupies this weird. Is he a psychopath? Is he a demon? Why does he? And it becomes increasingly unclear. Why doesn't Batman take him out? But this one. So. How would you describe it, Jason? Sorry, Aid. How would you describe the big reveal at the end?
It ties back to the Killing Joke, which I really like. The weird thing about it is that we get the three Jokers. They're each individuals. You kind of get the idea which order they came in, but then the one that is talking last kind of throws a bit of vagueness to that, to kind of say, "Oh, was it me first, or was the other guy first?" I can't remember. Oh well. But the other thing is, it's like this, unless I'm mistaken, none of these are the Joker that had his face removed in the issues for Batman. So it's like, were there four at one point? Is this? I don't. Did he actually die when the cave collapsed on him? Even though there was like talk of him being immortal, what was going on? So it does. It's kind of like its own little separate thing. And again, this is part of the problem with it. But when they announce it as being Black Label and then announce the Omniverse thing, it's like, is this going to matter? Because in its own context, it's really good. But if it doesn't actually do anything to the core Batman series, and people just go, "Oh, Joker, yeah, we don't do that anymore," it's like, well, what was the point of doing the book then?
Yeah, it's not going to have me reading Batman again. It's not a bad book in its own right. The idea that the Joker is a continuum of dudes who keep making more dudes is an interesting spin on kind of a tired villain. Having him kidnap Joe Chill from Blackgate and try to make him into the next Joker, and then Bruce saves him and forgives him, and it's this big catharsis, was an interesting beat that was well done that I didn't expect in this book. So, I mean, that was a good thing. I like Batman better when he's kind of a prowling urban vigilante getting stuff done. When he's into this role as kind of the negligent father for Jason and Barbara, it's less fun for me. So, anyway.
Well, this is the polar opposite of Death Metal. Death Metal, from what I've seen, is absolutely batshit crazy. There's stuff going on over. This is grounded, street level stuff, and I like this stuff more for Batman than batshit crazy Batman. So,
I can see that. Well, hey, I don't have a good segue. I'm sorry. I'm 3 for 4 this time. Let's talk about Matt's book. Matt, you just released, I think recently released, XD12 Superhero System. And I'm guessing D12s figure prominently into your design choices. So,
I don't know. Do you think maybe? Do you think maybe that?
Oh shoot! Hang on.
He killed me. He couldn't handle it. It was too many dice.
It was too many dice. No, I was trying to show it off. You're in solo layout now.
That is a lot of D12.
Yeah. Well, each player is going to need a handful of them. Probably 9 if you're going to be playing the standard default level of the game. Otherwise, you're going to need about 12.
12d12, you
Oh, yeah.
crazy man.
Yes. Well, you have to understand, I have this history where back around 2011, I actually released another, not a superhero game, but it was a post-apocalyptic game called Survivors of the Fire, and it used D6s using more or less the same system. So I've kind of upgraded that old system to make this new system actually work for superheroes.
Okay, cool. Oh, well, tell us about. Let me just pitch the dumb guy question out there because I am a dumb guy. Why a new super system? What was
That's a really good question. To be perfectly honest, when I was doing research for a name for this thing, I found out there's over 100 superhero titles that are out there, either have been released or are currently in print or available for purchase out there. So that's kind of why it has a generic name to it. But the situation is that I don't know exactly why we would need another superhero role-playing game, other than the fact that this one uses kind of unique dynamics, and it's also kind of my COVID-19 project this year. Most of my gaming kind of ended right after GammaCon Copper was held in the Cedar Rapids area. To be perfectly honest, if I had known that that was going to be the last face-to-face gaming I was going to get to do this year, I would have signed up for more events. But the situation is, I started working on this almost immediately after the gaming convention was over, because I've been more or less trying to make a superhero role-playing game ever since the beginning of the decade, last decade, around 2010 or so. And every time I run into the same problems about how to scale things, how to make things work for superheroes when I can make them work for just regular people, things like Traveler or Twilight 2000, stuff like that, where everybody's just normal people. So,
indeed. Hey, I see you've got some of our friend Joe Singleton's art here, it looks like, on page 46.
Yes, I do.
All right, cool.
I had an artist lined up to actually do most of the art for this thing, and about 2 months into the project, he got a hold of me and said, "Hey, I've been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and I'm not going to be able to do it." So I did get a cover out of him at least before he had to get busy with taking care of himself. So I had to pull a lot of stock art. And the good news is that I'd tried writing superhero games before and got the cart ahead of the horse and bought a whole bunch of stock art. So I said, hey, I've got all this superhero stock art. We'll just fill with that. So I've got about 5 or 6 different sources of stock art on this thing. Hopefully I'll have a little bit more original art for my first supplement, which hopefully will be out. I am shooting for the end of the year on that, but it's probably going to be sometime in January before it's actually ready to go.
Okay, is that going to be on crowdfunding, or what's the plan for that?
No, it's a one-man band. XD12 Games is just me, literally. Okay. So I just release PDFs and say, hey, go to town with it, get yourself a laser printer and a comb binder, and you can have a wonderful copy of the game that looks something like this.
Nice,
get it far enough out. So, yeah. I prefer having a book that can lay flat, so that's why I do PDFs primarily. Yeah, plus, the profits from this are feeding my wonderful indie gaming addiction. So,
wait. You're making profits? I'm doing something wrong. All right.
No. Not really profits. I haven't actually made money on this. This is all going into the trade credit so I can grab some other indie games off of drive-thru-rpg.com, of course.
Yeah, that's how I wind up. That's what happens to most of my profits too. They wind up getting spent on stock art or other games I want to play. So.
Oh yeah. I've already spent a lot on stock art, so there we go. Hopefully we'll have, like I said, hopefully I'll have the Bay City source book is the thing that I'm working on right now, which is a city in the actual setting. The idea being that there's an omniverse out there of different parallel dimensions. The one that we're in, for example, is Mundana, which is high science, high tech, but not so much superheroes or anything else. It's like, no faster than light travel, nothing else like that going on. In Paragonia, of course, which is where the canon setting is going to be. There are superheroes, there is super science, there's faster than light travel, aliens come visit Earth occasionally, things like that.
Well, hey, cool. All right, so we should be looking for that in January. We should have you back on, talk about that some more. And cool. I know you mentioned you were talking Babies with Knives, who are our sister podcast, and I think they've been on hiatus because I know there were some health problems. Do you have any samples of play up on YouTube we could point people to or anything like that?
As it stands right now, we were doing the alpha. We did the alpha test with Babies and Knives, and unfortunately, it was already the alpha was already a very complex system when I had it together then, and the playtest revealed so many problems with it that in order to fix all the problems, I was going to make a complex system even more complex, and at that point, who's going to want to play it, right? So I had to sit back and totally revamp the system this summer, and that was something I could do to distract myself because my mother, who is having health problems of her own, had to go into the hospital for the better part of a month this summer.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too. But the good news is she pulled through. She's doing a lot better right now, so knock on wood. Hopefully everything will just stay the same. But during that time, I had enough time to actually rework the system around and hit on the idea of modifying the old system that I had from my first game effort. So, and it actually turned out being a lot better. I mean, needed a few tweaks after I got it written, but right now it's cooking pretty well. I've got a regular weekly got a regular weekly game going on Babies with Knives. If you want to drop by and say hi and see what's going on, just look for the XD12 on the Babies with Knives server on Discord.
Okay, are Alice and Brandon back in the game? I haven't seen her online in a while.
No, I've been in contact with both of them. With the COVID-19 thing going on right now, Brandon, of course, works in the healthcare industry, so he's very, very busy, and he's been looking after Alice because they got displaced during the wildfires that were happening in Oregon late this summer.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah, and the air quality there was really bad, and of course, Alice has respiratory issues is the problem, and the smoke from the fires really aggravated that. So she's not doing exceptionally well right now. So Brandon's basically having to take most of his time off to look after her, make sure she's doing okay.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah, we definitely miss him. Looking forward to seeing him back online.
And, if we're not friends anymore after this, I probably said too much. But anyway, hopefully they'll understand because people do want to know. We definitely care about them and we do miss them.
Yeah, I am deeply missing getting to hang out with Alice and Brandon as often as we did. So I wish them all the best and good health to both.
But I really appreciate the Babies with Knives people because they've pointed me to some really good Kickstarter projects this year. With everything going on, it's like, hey, we're trying new things online here. So it's a little unusual for me because, I was used to using a computer that had about 11K of RAM and had a cassette tape drive attached to it, So I'm learning the new stuff.
And the other thing too is we have. If you guys want to support Brandon and Alice, they just had Alice's adventure that she did for Frog God Games, which is called Moon Daughter's Fate.
Yes.
Just dropped. I was a backer on the Indiegogo, but I mean, talk about a really nice way to, or a really unique way to kind of reinvigorate that kind of an old school game, and do it from the fact of you could actually learn something because. This is done with an eye toward Chinese mythology, and they use some of the Chinese naming conventions, and she includes things like radicals and stuff like that, which is indiscriminate marks that change the meaning of words in the Chinese languages, and some of that is flavored in the sidebars of the text so that you can actually learn about that language. So it's really, really cool, great aesthetic, fun adventure. So I'm hoping to run it at some point.
I'm trying to find a link for that, and I'm coming up blank. Does anybody have one?
I'll shoot it at some point
Okay.
when I'm less mobile, when I'm not in the Banff mobile studio.
The Banff Mobile. You gonna stop at a game store and shoot some t-shirts out of a cannon?
If there's a game store open, I would.
We should get you a Fez cannon from the old days of Banff. You could just have a Fez gun. You shoot random people. Boom! You're wearing a Fez. Ah.
No, I'm more of a toucher than a shooter, so I would probably really choke them right into the shirt.
I like how you make that sound so nice, but it's really not.
You know, it's not fun unless you have the 3 elements of jiu-jitsu, which is either tap, nap, or snap. And if I can incorporate that into a t-shirt and put it on a dude right as I send him unconscious, I'm all about it.
That's crazy, Walt, but I love it. All right, cool. Well, hey, we'll definitely get a link for Alice's adventure in the show notes. Matt, pleasure talking to you, sir. We'll have you back on. Be in touch. Let me know when the setting comes out. We'll talk about that. Aid, Jacob, Walt, always a pleasure having you guys on. Anyone have closing thoughts before we wrap up?
Stay safe. Mask up.
Indeed.
I have my Mandalorian helmet right in the back.
This is the way. All right, folks. We'll see you next time on the Banff Podcast.
Cheers.
Cheers.